Well, that was good timing. I planned to get here at sunrise o'clock, and here I am. Sun's just coming up. I could not time that any better. The sun's been off actually about 10 minutes, so I'm about 10 minutes late. So 10 minutes past sunrise. That's good. Wind's getting up, I've noticed. I've come out today to one of the sites that I like to use. Campfire still looking good. But, piece of charcoal. Come out of there. Go back in. My fire bucket that I keep out here has no water in it, so I had to fill up my washline bucket, my collapsible bucket. So anybody that comes out and does this stuff, you can get these collapsible buckets. I've mentioned before, they're absolute peanuts to buy. Absolute peanuts. They hold a decent amount of water. It says 20 litres when it's full, but that ain't full. It's only about half full. But this time of the year it's hard to find water in the creek deep enough to fill it straight up. So in there is a large sandwich bag, and you can use the sandwich bag as like a baler just to fill it up. So I'm going to get my bench and that set up. I'm going to cut up some firewood. I'll show you how to do that in a second. This wind is getting up. I'm not so keen on this wind, but I don't like having campfires if it's too windy, but this is still pretty wet in here. And we have temperature's going to drop rapidly today. By this evening we're going to have snow, so by tomorrow morning this will probably all be covered in snow in here. The wind's getting up though. That's the early morning wind coming off the mountains. The really big mountains are literally just there. Yeah, most of those are like 2,000, little bit over there, 3,000 metre mountains. So yeah, wind falls off those pretty quick in the morning. Right, so let me get this set up and then I'll get back to you. Well, I've shown this before, and I'm going to show you again. As always, I have my Super 2000 one. I see people cutting up firewood all the time, and they do the between their knee thing. You see them balancing on it and then trying to hold a log still, and they're doing all this kind of crap. Don't bother. Just cut yourself a stick like this, put a point on it, bang it in the ground, tie it to the tree. Always make sure you take the cord off when you go home. Tie it to the tree, and then you can put your boot on it. Use your boot as a brace. It makes it real easy. That one I can break up by hand. Makes it real easy to cut firewood. So that, put your boot on it. Make it much easier than that. It's easy, isn't it? Use that for my lighting. That's all that is. And then at the end of the day, I take this piece of string off, leave it here. That stick's just bringing it in. But you can put decent sized logs on there and use your foot as the brace, rather than you see people doing all this with their hands or under their knees like this. It all looks great in a video, however, you bust your knee out here. I'm about 5-6 kilometers from anywhere sensible. You bust your knee out here, you're in trouble. So actually, I won't put that away yet. Keep that. So as always, I do have a stash of already cut firewood here. I always keep, in places I go, I always keep wood handy, and you'll notice there's a whole bunch of these stood up in the trees, and I got some bigger ones over there. So when I come out here in winter and it's all covered in snow, which I suspect won't be long from now, I have plenty of firewood. It's up off the ground, it's out the snow, and that is actually the easiest way to cut wood, like that. Now this bucket is my makeshift tripod for today. This is my fire bucket. This is normally 3/4 full of water, but something, so the handle's all chewed, quite large teeth too, so something's been chewing up my bucket and rolling it around. I actually found it rolled around over there. So this is my fire bucket, which is normally half full. So I will say again, for fire safety, if you light a fire, it is your fire, your responsibility. Just put that there for a second. your responsibility before you light it. Know how you're going to put it out. It's very, very important. So, right, that said, let me get a fire base made in here and I can get my fire set up and get ready to go. Right, so anybody who's not familiar with my fire stuff that I do and fire safety, obviously make sure you have water. Here, I just have a small base in here today. I don't like having big fires when I've got high winds, so I'm going to keep this fire really small. Basically, I've just come out to cook some breakfast today, have some time out in the mountains. Anybody that knows me will know that my favourite way to light campfires is with cotton balls and Vaseline. Ooh, that's a really goopy one. Let's put that in there. The other advantage of having Vaseline in here is if I was to cut myself or whatever, I have a source of Vaseline with me, not only for fire lighting, but also if I cut myself, I can cover it up. It just helps. So I will put that on there for a second. Just going to make sure I have enough tinder and garbage with me here. This time of the year, there's loads of dead stuff laying around everywhere. I have a small bundle of twigs here, and there's so much of that Spanish moss or whatever old man's beard in the trees here, it's not funny. So, as always, I like to use a ferro rod and cotton balls. If I can spark the land on there, we should be good, which we are. Here should be enough. Cotton balls tend to burn for a reasonable amount of time, usually enough to get a fire going. Like I say, I want a small fire today because it is pretty windy. Yeah, not want a big fire today. People that know me know that I'm a great fan of upside down fires. I don't particularly like TP fires. TP fires are great for a quick fire. If you just got the time to just keep piling stuff on, that's fine. But if you haven't, you're better off just making a upside down fire, log cabin fire, whatever people want to call it. I call them lazy fires. You just light the fire on the top. But it just shows you how dry this stuff is. Look. See the wind? This is why this is going to be a small fire. So the wind's coming from this way, so I'm actually going to move some of these rocks to this side. Just to break up that wind if they're a touch. That actually looks pretty good. Right, as always, once you've got your fire going, secure your tools. Make sure you put everything away. Now, golden rule. Now this fire is going, you don't leave the site. You stay here all the time. You don't wander off up there or over there or down to the creek or wherever. You stay with the fire. Now, I have seen people do that. They'll get a fire going and then clear off and go and do something. No, never leave the fire unattended. Because at the moment this is a very small fire. I have probably 10 litres of water there. I have another litre of water in my water jug. I have another litre of water in my backpack. So I have plenty of water. Like I say, this is going to be a small fire. It's not going to be a large fire at all. You just feed on a few small bits. Let them get going. The wind's coming from this way, so let's see if I can just block this off a little bit more on this side. Yeah, it shouldn't be too bad. That wood in the bottom there that I laid in the bottom is really dry, and the sticks I have behind me, these ones here, these will plenty enough. And the wind's blowing that way, which is unusual. Our wind normally goes that way, not that way. So where I am, I know I've got an unusual wind, so I've got an upslope wind. Our upslope winds around here can be a little bit unpredictable, which is probably why our weather's changing rapidly later on today. So, right, so I've got everything set up. I have 2 bear sprays with me today. I did notice when I came up through what I call the patch, all the buffalo berries in the bottom of there are already gone. Yeah. They're long gone. There's a huge patch of those by the side of a creek and some bushes that I know the bears like. So but they're all gone. So I know the bears have already been through here. So that's not a bad sign. Right, we get this fire going, get some heat in here, and I'll get back to you. And the purpose of today's trip is not to do any amazing bushcraft skills, chasing dinosaurs down and catching them with a toothbrush, or those other skills that people like to put out on I have noticed the what I call the bikini bushcraft seems to have died down quite a lot. It's obviously gone out of favour. We've obviously moved on to something else. But I have noticed there's quite a lot of AI. There's people making bushcraft stuff that it's all just computer crap. It's not even real, you know. So that I think is going to be a problem for I think that's going to be a problem over time. People are just making more and more videos, just AI garbage. Okay, you have to keep an eye on this. Let's lay some bigger pieces in here. It flares up a lot when you first get it going, but yeah, a lot of people, gear check, there's a lot of people that are making AI videos, which I guess if that's all they can do, that's what they can do, but then what is real and what isn't? You know? This is very real. Yeah. So much so that the fire in the bottom there is actually starting to die down a little bit. I've put some smaller bits in there. I want to build up some reasonable embers into those small pieces I put in the bottom there first, without the big flames. Yeah. This is why you don't wander away from the fire, because that wind gets up, blows a bunch of embers into all this crap. It's very dry grass in here at the moment because it's all died off at the end of the year. So, but we'll do this. I did remember my toasty fork, and I do have my sausage rolls and that with me. So today's video, like I say, is not about amazing bushcraft skills and all that kind of stuff. It's basically just coming out into the mountains, having a sit down and enjoying a campfire. Something more people should do is make sure if you're going to, that you do it safe. Once you light a fire, it's your fire, your responsibility. That, I have to say, for me, is a pretty crappy fire, but I am trying to keep it as small as I possibly can. Anybody that knows my usual campfires will know that I'd be a lot happier if there was 6 inches of snow on the ground. I don't particularly, I'll be honest with you, I don't particularly like this time of year, because we get wet snow. We get 6 months of dry snow, like when it's in the minus 10s, 15, 20s, 30s. But, we get very dry snow. We can't make snowballs out of it usually. This time of the year we get very wet snow. I don't like wet snow. It's horrible. We are getting some embers in the bottom there, so that's good. Those longer pieces that I burnt through, one of the reasons you put longer pieces on like that is it burns out the middle, but it's also preheating the wood. Isn't that windy? Keep this fire small and stuff. I want to burn up some of this charcoal from last time. There's lumps of charcoal. You can actually light a fire with that. If you want to, you can actually light a fire with that. Get rid of some of these chunkies. I like to leave nothing but ash if I can. tarps and everything with me today, but I'm not going to put one up. It is supposed to rain later, like I say, turn over to snow, but I don't anticipate being here all day. So the other thing this time of the year, the grass has gone down a bit, it's died off a bit, so you get a better view around. If you put up a nice tarp shelter, you know, I could put up a nice tarp shelter behind me and all the rest of it, and it looks great in the video, but then I can't see what's coming that way. Yeah. And around here it's a good idea to know what's in the forest with it. We have, actually I saw a fox this morning running across the road. Did not often see too many of them. I saw a fox on the road this morning, but it was still pitch black. We got coyotes, wolves. There was some wolf crap further down the trail that way, but I only saw one lot of wolf crap, so that's good. We get coyotes, wolves, bears, both kinds of bears. We get grizzly and black bears up here. This time of the year they're heading more out into the mountains. They know where the berries are. Yeah. Right, I'm going to get some smaller pieces in there, because that looks like that's starting to settle down in there a bit. Let's just push some of these burnt ends in. There we go. Push those in there a touch. Yeah, like I say, this is about rest and relaxation. Come and sit by the fire, get some embers going in here, cook myself some breakfast, have a wander around the mountains, and then head home. That is it. I don't plan on camping tonight, but as I always say, make sure you have everything with you. I do have all my tarps and everything with me in my pack. I have enough food for 2 days, I have enough water for 2 days. Right, I will carry on and get this fire going. The fire is going good. We've got a reasonable amount of embers in there now without being too big a fire. I did remember my tea, which is always good. And sausage rolls. So this little sandwich bag that I carry these in, this is what I use to top up my water bucket. Anybody that knows me will know I'm a great fan of sausage rolls. The reason being, you can have them hot or cold. But on today's menu, we're having hot. The flame's going that way, and the embers on the back of the fire here. So we will use those. Yeah, smoke as much as I can. You want the embers for cooking, not flame. Flame will burn your food real fast. Embers heat it up nice. Like I am keeping this fire small today. That is deliberate. Yeah. Smokes a bit. Blech, round that way. Oh, here we go. Got better embers this side, so that's good. What I should do, I put the rocks the other side because of the wind. I can tell you now, these sausage rolls cold are very nice. Hot on a campfire, they are just so good. Yeah. That rock's not too hot. So we will put that there. Put one on the end of that. Like so. Job done. Let that warm through. I'm just going to push some of these ends in. Like I say, I don't want flames for cooking. I'm trying to get as much of these big chunks of charcoal that I have here burnt up as well. And these two sticks I'll put on there in a moment. Ooh, got pretty flames on there. Turn that over. Oh yeah, she's chucking off good heat. As I've said before, the telltale rule for cooking food. If you can put your hand there and keep it there for more than about 5 seconds, fire's not hot enough. So yeah, I can tell you now, not keep my hands there. So, some of these ends in. The big chunks of charcoal, I think pretty much are done those. Oh, she's warming up nice. As I say, normally my fire would be decent logs, probably 2 layers of logs, the decent sized ones. But today I want to keep it small, just a basic cooking fire. So I don't need a big fire. But, I don't want to create a lot of smoke. I'm trying to make as smoke-free fire as I can. When I was out here in March, I had a visit from a helicopter literally just above the trees here. There was no wind and they saw my smoke. So they do monitor it, which is good. We have an amazing fire watch system here for like forest fires and stuff. And the guys are busy enough as it is without having to check on every idiot's campfire. Oh, she's getting there. She's getting close. How's that? Oh yeah. Oh. Always remember, that is hot. And these are hot too. So don't be tempted to bite straight into one of these, because I can tell you now, they get real hot and they're really fast. Ooh, yeah, that's hot. And a couple of bits. Too much smoke. I put my coat on today because although it's not cold this morning, it could well be by the time I get to walk out of here. It's supposed to, it was plus 10 this morning and it's supposed to go down to 0 by just after lunchtime, and then later in the afternoon it's supposed to turn over to snow. So. Oh, that is so good. I would normally wait a bit before having the next one, but as I don't really need this fire going all day, I won't. Somebody asked me the other day, oh, you haven't done many campfire videos, and the reason for that is I was out in April, May, June. It was pretty good. I was out in the mountains a lot, and it's campfires and stuff. And then we had July, where it did nothing but rain for most of July. August was very, very dry, and although we didn't actually have a fire ban here, my theory is if I'm not out having a campfire, that's one less person out in the backcountry having a campfire. So that was the reason I was there, and I was doing a lot of trail clearing. If you look back through my other videos, there's several trails that I've taken care of this year. I think most of the videos I did were on Boundary, along Boundary Peak. I did a bunch of those. I've done some other trails this summer as well, just to tidy them up, get rid of all the deadfall, all that other good stuff. The thing is with the trails, if you leave them for too long, you'd be surprised how quickly they get overgrown. That particular trail, that I spent four whole days on that trail, just clearing deadfall and alder. Oh my god. I don't think I've ever cleaned that much alder off of any trail. That was just insane. That was a lot, to say the least. I think that's probably the most I've ever cleared off of one trail. And there was one section that was about, I'm going to say 1.5 kilometers long, and it was almost just nothing but alder. It took me pretty much an entire day to clear all the alder off of that. And in the end I stopped cutting it back because my hands were, I just took a saw to it, cut the whole bloody lot out. Yeah. A lot quicker with a saw, that's for sure. Yeah. Hard on your back though, I can tell you. What are we doing? Ooh, she's getting toasty. Well, that's good. That's very nice. And that's what you call breakfast. So now that the wind's changed, it's gone that way. If you notice, it's dead calm now. Trees aren't moving. This means the wind's changed direction. It's going to swing round. That high wind that you get it every morning here. Because as the sun comes up, the air rolls down the mountains, and that's why the wind normally comes that way. If it's going that way, that's kind of weird. We don't tend to see too much of that. But the wind in the trees has literally dropped right back to nothing. That's a good small fire. No, just move that camera around there because the smoke was ridiculous. Oh, so that wood cutting trick with the side of a tree, it works so well, and I can cut up a lot of firewood. I can cut up a day's firewood on that thing in probably, I don't know, 15 minutes, 20 minutes tops. I can cut up enough firewood for an entire day just doing that. That's better, the smoke's down a bit. As anybody that knows me will know, it's time for tea. And I remembered today, it's good. I'm out trail clearing and what have you, like I was doing most of the summer, pretty much for all of August, and a good part of September too. It's a good idea to travel as light as you can, because I have all my tools. I got ropes, extra rope, extra line, my big saw. I've got my Katana 500. This one, the 2000, is always on my belt. This actually lives on my belt. That is an amazing tool. If you haven't got one of those, I don't work for Silky, I don't get paid by Silky, but I can tell you now, I've used just about every kind of wood saw you can imagine. And the Silky, the big boy, this thing, absolutely brilliant. Love it. So, cheers people, thanks for coming along. That was some good breakfast. And now the smoke's lingering in the trees because we've lost the wind. Literally, it's dead quiet. Nothing. But that's not necessarily a good thing around here, because it can go from nothing to full-on bloody hurricane winds out of nowhere. Yeah, we get Chinook winds here. And if you don't know what Chinook winds are, look them up. The wind comes down the mountains. It could be -20. I could be sitting here at -20, and the wind change, and it suddenly come down the big mountains, which is literally just right there. It'll come down that mountain so fast, it's like putting your thumb over the end of a bicycle pump. Heats the air up, and it will come down there so fast, and it will literally just warm up 10 degrees, 15 degrees. I've known it go from -20 to +10 the next day, literally. And it's overnight, you think it would be the coldest, but around here, nighttime temperatures and what have you, there's no correlation, because if the wind changes, you know, in the middle of the night, it can go from -20 to +10. Yeah. Oh. And that, I have to say, is a good cup of tea. Not that I'm biased, but I know the guy that made it. Yeah. Oh. Yes, I need to turn those ends around there soon. Too much smoke. Oh, that is good. That's good tea. There's nothing nicer. People say, you know, there's nothing nicer than sitting around a campfire, just poking a campfire with a stick and whatever. And it's actually a very good thing to do. It's incredibly relaxing. It's really good for you. But, however, there is one thing that's better. That's doing the same thing, but drinking tea. Gotta have tea. No tea, no go. Yeah. I try to avoid heading to the mountains with no tea. It's looking pretty good. Other than the smoke. Not liking the smoke. Oh, that is good tea. There's your Yorkshire Gold. Ooh. Yorkshire Gold at its finest, that is. Right, let's see if we can turn some of these ends around. Turn those up. Hopefully get rid of some of this smoke. Let's put some of those in there. There we go. Now the smoke has come back round to the camera again anyway. Sod law, right? Doesn't matter where I put the camera. Let me move that again, see if the smoke does the same. Right, I need some small pieces of wood. There you go. Grab some small bits. Trees around here are covered in this stuff. It burns. So you've got to be careful. You get a forest fire in this stuff, look at that. It flares up fast. Yeah. There's, watch. See that? See how fast that burns? And this is why you don't walk away from a fire. If it gets into the tree, you can run up that tree faster than you can move. What I do when I come out to this particular site, and all my other sites too, around the camp perimeter where I camp, I remove as much of this crap as I can. It does two things. improves my eyesight line so I can see what's moving around me. Gets rid of some of this really dry material we watch. Look at that. So imagine a whole tree covered in that. It will run up that tree so fast you can't even imagine how fast it runs up these trees. It's just insane. So when I first came to this site, this piece I'm actually in was heavily full of that stuff, and over the several campfires that I've had here, quite a few, it has actually diminished quite a bit. Does it make a difference to the entire forest? No. But this piece around here, yeah. That's the idea. And an even better idea, have another cup of tea. Because, as the great Morskahansky would say, I just spill some tea. As the great Morskahansky would say, the more you know, the less you carry. And to me, my saying is, the more tea I drink, the less I have to carry. So that's a good thing. Yeah. Oh, what a great way to spend the day. Yeah. The advantage of putting that stuff on there is it creates the flame, gets rid of the smoke. Smoke is just unburnt fuel, that's all it is, incomplete combustion. Yeah. Yep. Like I say, we do have a very good fire watch around here. I don't want to hassle those guys. I know earlier in March, had a fire out here and had a bloody helicopter come literally straight over the top of these trees here. You know, I could have thrown a stick and hit him. He was just checking out, making sure it wasn't a forest fire, which is good, very much appreciated. Yeah, at least somebody was watching. And I did work it out afterwards. The fire watch position that would have spotted that is 10 kilometers away from here. The nearest fire watch to here is 10 kilometers away. Yeah. So they spotted that, which is good. That's what they're there for. Yeah. Actually, I think they come out the mountain soon. October, November, I think they come out. I think they go into the fire watches in February, March, and I think they come out November, I think. End of October, November, somewhere in there. Yeah. And they're up there all summer, keeping an eye on the forest for us. Yeah. Got to keep an eye on them. Yeah. Some people do some stupid shit in the forests, I can tell you. There are forests around this area that I never go to. Like if you go way north, there's an area up in there, Whitepress and what have you, and it tends to get a bit stupid in there in times. A lot of people out there ripping up trails and what have you. But they have actually done a lot of restoration work up in there. There's a place called Margaret Lake. They've rehabbed a lot of the trails which were illegal trails, removed some of the illegal campsites, got all those all tidied up, protecting the water. They put in water bars on the trails to stop the trails, the proper trails, and there are proper trails up there. They maintain those too. They don't just close everything off. People, you'll hear all this crap about, oh, they just go in there and close all the trails. They don't. They close the unofficial trails. They close all the millions of braided trails through the forest that every Tom, Dick and Harry goes ripping through, and they actually refurbish the proper trails, and they actually make a really good job of it. Those guys have got their hats off to them. They're in there with little bulldozers and putting up fences and repairing trails and all kinds of stuff. They do a good job, but it can get a bit messy up in there at times. Some people go up there and do nothing but make a mess, and there's other people that go up there on their weekends off, and they'll take a couple of trucks up in there and they'll just clean up all that garbage. So there's good and bad. The only thing I would say is there's way more good people that go up there than there are bad people, but I tend to avoid it because I don't like the ATVs and bloody off-road bikes and all this kind of stuff. I don't like all that stuff. And where I am here, most people just don't come here because there's nothing here. It doesn't go anywhere exciting. There's nothing here. It's just middle of bloody nowhere. Yeah. Nothing exciting here at all. Yeah. So what I'm going to do now with this fire, I've cooked my sausage rolls. I'm going to let that fire burn down. So a lot of people, when you're going to put a fire out, you'd soak that down now, but there's still a lot of unburnt fuel in there. So if you can just let that fuel burn off, keep piling it up, letting it burn off until it's basically just nothing but embers and ash, and you'll soon know when it's got to that point because you will start seeing the little bits of white ash starting to come off the fire. The heat will start to erode, and you'll see it. I don't know if it'll do that yet. It's going to be a while yet, I think. But you'll actually see the white ash starting to come off the fire. When you see that, you know the fire's cooling. Yeah, it's good. So all I'm going to do now, I'm not going to add any more fuel to that. I'm just going to keep piling it up into the middle, let it burn right through. And it, but here, I mean, the amount of heat coming off that fire, right? Okay, that's getting uncomfortable. That's getting hot. And yes, that's enough. So you look at how small that fire is, but it's still putting off so much heat. And this is the thing. People go out and they make these bushcraft videos, and you'll see they've got a great big fire, this tall, and that. The amount of heat that fire puts off, just insane. And you've got to bear in mind that, you know, these trees behind me are all full of that stuff that burns like crazy, that Spanish moss stuff, old man's beard, whatever you want to call it. And it burns fast, really fast. If you got a fire into the bottom of that tree, it'd be right up that tree, almost as quick as it takes me to tell you. It's just insane. Whew. What's also insane is that smoke. Yeah, there we go, that's better. Yeah, the smoke. I can't believe how much the wind has dropped. That's absolutely insane. When I set off this morning, it was pitch black. I was walking up the trails this morning, it was absolutely pitch black. Because it takes me, to get to here, it takes me about hour and a half, depending on how much snow's on the ground, and there's no snow at the moment, so it only takes me probably hour and a half to get here. In the winter it can take me a couple of hours to get here because of the snow. It takes about an hour and a half. So by the time I got here, the sun was literally, I wanted to be here for sunrise, and missed it by about 10 minutes because it was just broke the hill behind me, so I was about 10 minutes short. Yeah, that's pretty good going though. Yeah. Yeah, that heat, the amount of heat coming off that fire is actually huge there. And people leave fires like this and just walk away from it. But that is a lot of heat. If the wind suddenly got up now and started blowing these embers out of here, that could turn into a forest fire like really, really quickly. It's why once you light a fire, never walk away from it, ever. Unless you've got other people with you. You leave somebody at the fire, but always make sure there's somebody at the fire. And always make sure you bring a good supply of tea. Yeah. Right. This is what you do with your campfire. Just let it burn down to next to nothing. See the way the smoke sits in the trees though. Get out over there. See. Always, if you can, like I have a tree here. I call this a coat hanger tree. So what you do, when you're clearing all the deadfall off, leave bits sticking out about 3 or 4 inches. Makes a good clothes rack, clothes hanger. In the winter when it's snowy, you can hang all your pack and everything up there off the ground. Yeah, I don't like all that smoke blowing out through there. Yeah, I don't like all that smoke. It's bad. It's not a bad bench though. Yeah, those logs. People ask me why I don't cut up my firewood. I just leave it as rounds. Now, if I was cutting up bits of firewood as round as those, yeah, I'm going to split that into 4. I'm not going to try and burn that in one go. That'll be one hell of a fire. That's an overnight fire, that is. Yeah, but the smaller stuff, like these here, these, I don't tend to cut these up. These are only, I don't know, 2-3 inches round. I don't tend to cut those up into smalls. I do have stacks of this stuff all over the bloody show. So if I come out here in the winter and I need to get a fire going now, I know I have already cut, dried, ready to go firewood right there. Yeah, like I say, I have pieces stood up in trees. These pieces here, nice and dry. That one there's really dry, that one there's really dry. I mean, there's 2 or 3 hours worth of fire right there. So always know how to do it. Now, with this log cutter, with your firewood cutter, I do have a piece of cord that I wrap around the tree. No fancy knots. You're not going to see any videos on how to tie amazing knots with one hand in 3 seconds. This is just a stick banged in the ground. There's a nice decent hole there, and you just tie it to the tree, put your foot on it, job done. But always remember to untie the bit of cord from when you finish, so that way you're not strangling the tree. Yeah, the tree doesn't need to be strangled. Yeah, right. So I'm just going to let this die down some more. I'm going to drink up the rest of my tea, and that's what you do with a campfire. See, a lot of people now, if you put water on that now, and I could just put water on that now and it'll go out. However, there's still a lot of unburnt fuel in there. But if I just let it burn now, you'd be surprised how quickly those embers basically just turn into nothing but ash. And once I see those little white bits flying out of the fire, I know the fire's cooling. Yeah, so that's good. That's what you want to see. So, enough rabbiting. Time for me to drink some more tea. Yeah. Not liking the smoke in the trees over there. Not liking that at all. Right. Okay. On I go. As you can see, the fire's dying down. Keep raking it up into the middle. I just saw some white ash coming off the fire. I was going to try and see if I could catch some for you. You get the like little bits just blowing off the fire. You know it's pretty much done. Yeah. But never ever walk away from a fire like that, ever. People do, they do it all the time, unfortunately. They always assume that it'll just burn itself out. Even the ones that are in the metal fire pits, don't ever leave them. Make sure it's soaked right down, stir it all up. Very important to stir it too, because you can pour water on the top and all down in the bottom there, it can still be really, really hot. You have to be careful where you light a fire too. If you look around here, this looks like forest floor. Most of it is around there, but that hole there, I dug a large hole there. I came up here with my spade. I dug a large hole, got right down to mineral soil, and then just off to one of my sides here, there was a whole bunch of mineral soil on a bank that was all like really exposed, like clayey, limestoney, shaley garbage. So I put 5 buckets. That's why that bucket's there as well. I put 5 buckets of that mineral soil in the bottom of there as well, so there's nothing underneath there going to burn. And the other thing you'll notice is I always have the fire in the middle of the ring. Now if I was having a bigger fire, I would extend the side of this ring, I would make it bigger. Or if I was staying overnight, I would remove the rocks on the front and put them on the back. And it's so that the heat is coming towards you, but also it acts as a bit of a windbreak. I see these people build these supposed windbreaks and all that kind of stuff. To me, I call those firewood dryers, because those windbreaks they put in there, all it does is it does make a small effect on the smoke. I'll give them that. They call them heat reflectors. It does not bring much heat back towards you. Not anything that you're really going to notice. Now, if you had a piece of wriggly tin, piece of steel sheet in there or whatever that you could angle over, yes. But it just having a heat deflector or a reflector, as they call them, on that doesn't do nothing. Most of your heat goes straight up. The difference that would make to the temperature coming towards you is next to nothing. Yeah. But what it does do is it dries out your next lot of firewood really, really well. So don't rely on those things as heat reflectors. Use them more as firewood dryers. Yeah. Ooh, I just saw some. See those little white bits just starting to flutter in there, like the wood ash and stuff. That's what you're looking for. Because the amount of burnable material. When I finish with this fire, I will be able to walk up and down in it. And if you're not, see those little bits coming off there now? See those? Yep. That's how you know that fire's pretty much running out of fuel. Yep. So don't just put your fire out with still burnable material in it. Let it burn right down. See those? There it goes, look. Perfect, right on time. Couldn't have timed that any better. Yeah. That's when you know your fire's pretty much done. Yeah. Let it burn right down. And then you can just crush it up. I have a stick, a pokey stick over there. I'm leaning on the rocks. And what I'm going to do is break up all these coals so that there's nothing there that's can actually hold much heat. And I'm going to soak it down, stir it all up. Always remember to poke holes in the ground too. I have a stick there. My favourite stick is over there. It's got a sharp point on it. I use that to poke holes in the ground so that you can let water soak into the ground as well. And like I say, we've got heavy rain coming this afternoon. Probably about 3, 4, 5 o'clock, something like that. And about 5 o'clock it's supposed to turn over to snow. So tonight. We could be there. Actually, we have to actually have a snowfall warning. We could have 10 centimeters or 20 centimeters around here. You never know. So by tomorrow morning, I suspect this site will be completely covered in snow. I won't be here tomorrow morning. I don't plan on doing an overnight. Like I say though, I do have everything I need with me just in case. But that is not the plan for today. The plan for today is to come and sit out here. Enjoy that. Look at that. Isn't that nice? Beautiful blue sky. I will most definitely take that. That is nice. Yeah. Yes. Just me and the squirrels. And the wind. I can hear the wind coming again. Wind flows like water in a river. If you picture water flowing down a creek, that's exactly what wind does, because wind is a fluid. It's just different density, that's all it is. So if you picture, like where people camp, I see people camping next to rivers and that all the time. Don't do that. No, don't do that. It's going to be at least 5 degrees centigrade colder next to the river than it is 100 meters away. Guarantee it. There's always look to see where the valleys are around you, see where the wind flows are. You can tell. I mean, if you come into an area and you find all the trees are bent over at 45 degrees like this and all the rest, don't camp there, because you know that that's a really windy spot. Yeah. So you have to pick your location where you're going to camp. And everybody wants to camp next to the river because it looks great and all that kind of stuff. No, don't ever do that. There's many reasons you don't camp next to a river. Right. I'm going to stir this pile up and break up all these coals and start putting them out. Right. I can hear the wind over there too. The big mountains are over there. I can hear the wind. Right, I'm going to try and film this as the wind comes through. The wind's just started picking up. It might be a bit close for the camera. The fire's still putting off a huge amount of heat. That camera is still about a foot away from the fire, maybe 14 inches, and it's still pretty hot. But I can hear the wind coming. So people think that fire is out. If you look in there, there's still lots of orange in there. And now the wind dies down. Never works out as you want on video, does it? Never does. Yes, I was hoping to show you the difference as soon as that wind picks up. Oh, yeah. Right, so I've probably one more cup of tea in there I can drink. Like I say, always make a tree for hanging all your stuff up. Because in the winter I don't want my pack in the snow, so I have extra branches up here. All I do, just cut them off, leave about 3 or 4 inches sticking outside the tree. Makes a really good little coat hooks and stuff you can hang on your hats and coats and crap up there. In the winter you don't want it on the ground in the snow. Yeah. As luck would have it, the wind's not blowing now. But look, I'll add some wind. See, it looks like it's not doing much, but all it takes is one of those embers, get blown out of there into that dry grass stuff over there, forest fire. It's easy as that. So yeah, I'm going to start soaking that down in a moment, breaking up all these coals into nothing, and then bring you back after that. And this is the advantage of having a collapsible water bucket for putting out your fires. Very easy to add water. This is the third lot of water I've put on here now. Soak this down. As you can see, we've still got another couple of litres in here, easy. Soak it down, stir it up, poke some holes in the ground, let the water into the ground. And so I think we got decent snow coming tomorrow, but this is now a soup. Let the water in there, and if you're not willing to stand in the fire with your $200 boots on, it's not out. Yeah, let that soak in there a bit more before I put the last lot of water on there. I can hear the water seeping into the ground. Yep, that's good. And that's how you should leave a campfire. Literally soaked down. That's a swamp. You can see it's definitely a swamp. Yeah, but I still have about 2 litres of water left to go, and that will all be on there before I leave. This is why I don't build a fire up to the rocks, because if you have a fire right up to the rocks, there could be a hot ember, one hot ember sitting in that corner or anywhere around here. That always keep your fire within the fire ring, not up against the side. People tend to build a fire ring and then put logs all the way up to the side. You will see that, see, this is all still dry around here. See these little twigs here, these little pine needles? The fire's been in the middle. None of those have even burnt. It hasn't even been that hot to burn those around there. So the fire's been in the middle of the fire pit. And so if you're having a really big fire, you need a bigger fire pit. Simple as that. Yeah. Always have a clear area around the fire that you're not burning. But don't put a fire right up to the rocks, because you can have embers sitting there and you put the fire out and you think they're all gone, but they're not. They're all sitting in the rocks there. So I will start packing up all my gear. Once my gear's packed up and what have you, I can put the last bit of that water on there, and then I'm 99.99999% certain that it's out. Right, let me get all my gear sorted, get all this crap out the tree. I decided I don't need to wear my coat on the way back because it's actually quite warm now. Once I get walking, I'll warm up even more. So let me get all this stuff put away, put all my bench away and everything else, and then I'll get back to you. Right, so my bench and everything put away. It all lives over there behind the trees. My fire bar, my bench logs are under there, my plank is over there, buckets behind the tree. So if you walk up through here, it doesn't look overly ridiculous. I mean, some people set up places and they got ropes hanging out of trees and tarps all over the show and all the rest of it. That always looks very yuck. But all that crap that's hanging up that tree over there is coming with me in a moment once I've got it all back on. Everything's tidied up. Put my coat in the pack. Might as well. See, coat hanger tree. Looks good, eh? Yeah. All nicely tidied up. Buckets behind there. Now if I have the tarp set up and it's raining, what I do is I just angle the back of the tarp down. I put like a plough in the back of it, like a shape, and then I just put the bucket underneath it, so it starts raining, it actually fills the bucket up. I like to have that bucket at least half full of water, but it got knocked over earlier in the year. But it'll be snowing soon, so I can fill it back up. Lots of little birds all turning up now. Squirrels are all getting upset. Look. It's good forest though, isn't it? Yeah. Where I have to go back is pretty much that way. And yeah, you just kind of find your way through the forest. Every time you walk out of here, you take a different route. So in the winter, there's actually a shortcut I can take because I can walk across the ice. But this time of the year, not so much. I can hear you, Mr. Squirrel. I can hear you. There's also what I call my emergency tree. There's a really good dead stand in there, absolutely bone dry, and it's about 6-7 inches round at the bottom. So if shit hit the fan and I was out here in the middle of winter and I needed a lot of firewood, I can just cut that thing down. But I do have enough wood stashed out here to last me a good... I could easily spend overnight here and still have more wood left over without cutting that one down, so that's good. Right, fire is soaked, stirred, soaked, stirred, soaked and stirred again. That's had a good 10 litres of water on there at least. Yeah, and as you can see, I've taken the water all the way up to the rocks and poked holes in the ground, and she is stone cold. That's how you leave a campfire. Right, I'm going to get all this gear on and I'm going to head out of here. Thanks for coming along.